Hi everyone, my name is Tom, and today I'm proud to welcome you to the preview of a brand new project called EasyBlend. You can get your first look at EasyBlend by going to our website at EasyBlend.org. And please keep in mind it is just a preview. The project is not anywhere near complete, but it has enough working features to get a taste of what we have planned and allow users who wish to contribute to get a running start. In a nutshell, EasyBlend is designed to be a modern and interactive tool for finding and organizing Blender-related resources, such as tutorials, user discussions, Blender animations, and more. Obviously, there are many ways of locating these same resources, so I felt it important to provide this introduction to explain our motivation for creating EasyBlend and why we feel it's both different and relevant. This project was started as a way to help promote Blender software by focusing on a group of people we've given the term Blenducators. Blenducators are core developers, add-on creators, tutorial authors, instructors, contributors to the Blender manual, and anyone else who promotes Blender or educates others to it in some way. These include the dedicated people who give us this awesome tool called Blender. They maintain it by fixing bugs and provide us with new versions frequently. Others keep it working smoothly with the various operating systems. And thousands of them teach us how to use Blender effectively. There are many Blenducators within the community, and at EasyBlend we feel it is well worthwhile to highlight them and their work and to give them additional privileges within the site. One major benefit Blenducators receive is free promotion to their sites, channels, or blogs. Now you do not need to watch the rest of this video if you just want to check the website out. You can jump right over to the site and start playing around. We've tried to make the functionality and user interface as intuitive as possible. However, for those interested, watching the rest of this short intro video will provide you with a bit more insight on what EasyBlend is about and what we're trying to provide to our users. So, over the next few minutes, I'll give you a quick tour of the EasyBlend site and a rundown of some of its features. Let me just mention, the site is free to the public, including all user accounts. Yes, you can just use the site to search for tutorials and other resources. But the real purpose of EasyBlend is to interact with it and improve the experience for the Blender community as a whole. User accounts enable many additional features and are required if you wish to contribute to EasyBlend. Anyone can create a user account easily. However, there are basic requirements for acquiring a Blenducator account. Blenducator accounts are special within EasyBlend because although all users can submit new resources and changes to existing resources, only Blenducators can approve these changes to be written to the database. And as I mentioned, EasyBlend tries to promote Blenducators by giving them an area at the top of each page which displays a snippet of their artwork and links to their websites or blogs. So the question is, do we need another system for finding Blender resources? What makes EasyBlend different? To answer this, let's first go to YouTube and look at the experience from a typical Blender user's perspective. I'll type in Blender tutorials and hit search, and wow, 200,000 results. Actually, let me refine this. I'll change tutorials plural to just tutorial, and now 777,000 results. Unbelievable. Close to 800,000 Blender tutorial videos just on YouTube. Are you kidding? Let's try the same thing on Vimeo. Okay, 4,000 plus videos. Not quite as impressive, but still respectable. And many of Vimeo's Blender videos are very high quality. But one thing that seems to be a common denominator here is the way the results are returned. Now obviously I'm getting videos from a wide range of topics here, which is to be expected since I only use the keywords Blender and tutorial. But with so many videos available, aren't there some common categories which make up Blender? If so, what are they? How do I find them so I can go back to the search box and type them in? Let's say a friend has told me that I should start out by learning modeling in Blender, so I refine the search to Blender modeling tutorial. Again, I get back a pool of seemingly random floating resources, only connected by a keyword or two. So maybe I decide I better start with modeling basics, so I click on this one here. I'm taken from the original list to a new screen with the video, which is a good one. However, after I'm done, if I then want to dig more into detail with modeling in Blender, where do I go? If we take a look at the related links that YouTube provides to the right, you'll see that we have topics like animation, interface, shading and lighting, etc., etc. Everything except the subtopics which actually make up modeling. Topics like meshes or vertices, edges, and faces. What about mesh editing tools and modifiers? This is because YouTube does not understand what subtopics make up modeling in Blender, and will only return videos which have certain keywords embedded in their metadata. Or it will return similar sounding results, which probably have high view counts and have assumed to be popular with other users. If I now want to dig into more detail on a specific topic, I pretty much have to know what that topic is in the first place, the keyword or words, and type them into the search box, at which point I've lost any context to a path I may have taken to arrive at this point. I guess what I'm trying to say is that all these hosts lack any kind of navigation structure that would help an average Blender user understand what Blender topics are available and how those topics are interrelated. In other words, what this is missing is the human element, specifically the Blender user's point of view. Anyway, we felt that this experience could be made better. We laid out some goals for an application that would improve on a few things and provide some custom functionality specifically for Blender users. Providing an alternative way to navigate through Blender-related topics was the first goal we set with EasyBlend, and we'll see a glimpse of this shortly. Secondly, we can already see that we need to visit a bunch of sites to have access to all these resources. Obviously, it would be nice to have access to Blender resources from multiple hosts in one place. So we wanted the site to be able to index resources from several major media hosts and then make these materials accessible using a common interface from within the EasyBlend site. Finally, we wanted to make it easy for our users to get involved by creating a fast, interactive pipeline where anyone can add and modify items in the database. So let's jump into the site and take our first look. In the home view, you have several of EasyBlend's main resource types to choose from. We'll go over each of these in a minute, but first let's click on one of these categories. I'll select specific tutorials. This takes us into the search view with some specific navigation filters on the left. Most importantly, this Blender topic hierarchy related to specific tutorials. And on the right, we see some initial resources associated with specific tutorials. You'll see that as I click through some of the topics in the tree, new resources to the right are populated. The common theme of EasyBlend's organization system is that for each of the general categories I showed you in the home view, there is a topic hierarchy associated with that category. You navigate this hierarchy of Blender topics by drilling down into its subtopics as far as you want to explore resources available there. So for example, if I'm interested in 3D mesh modeling within Blender, I can dig into modeling and then see meshes, expand that, and wonder what mesh editing tools does Blender have available. I might click on Mesh Tools, and several tutorials for modeling tools will pop up on the right. If I continue to drill into Mesh Tools, I'll see a couple types of individual tools. Maybe I've never heard of the knife tool and I decide to check it out. When I click on it, I should expect that whatever resources show up to be related to the knife tool. It's meant to be a very simple and intuitive process. If this sort of navigation system already seems kind of familiar, it's probably because it's very similar to the way the Blender manual is organized. Almost like a table of contents. It's indeed very similar to this by design. A table of contents reflects what might be called a taxonomy. The critical thing here is that a taxonomy is a subjective structure which is created and evolved upon by the community. The information present within the manual could be organized 1,000 different ways, but by tapping into experience and a collaborative effort from the users, we're able to agree on some sort of standard format from which to discuss and document Blender knowledge. Having standard organization and terminology then provides a consistent and efficient structure for learning. At EasyBlend, we felt that organizing Blender-related resources according to a familiar pattern such as this was crucial to providing a new and different experience to our users. It's more important than simply a way to find a specific tutorial or other resource quickly. It actually tells us how information is interrelated and what topics might be prerequisite for understanding other topics. It can also show us for what topics learning resources are needed. For example, a Blenducator might be looking through the resources which show up for a given topic, if any, and decide that Blender users could really use a new tutorial on the subject. Now, is this a perfect system for classification of all Blender resources? Unfortunately, no. As you begin exploring the EasyBlend system, you will find that not all resources fit nicely into a hierarchical classification system such as this. One thing that needs to be said up front is that EasyBlend's classification hierarchies are not perfect. We are at a starting point and need input from the community. We can't simply copy the taxonomy exactly as it is laid out in the Blender manual. EasyBlend's structure must reflect the resources that exist out in the real world. Many topics will never exist in the manual because they simply don't belong there. Imagine trying to document every complex effect which can be built using the particle system, for example. It would fill a book by itself. So our system must be a hybrid of standard topics along with user-driven topics. Now we do also provide a full-text search box up here in the filter bar, which will search the database by title, description, and by author. And although this seems to defeat the purpose of the EasyBlend classification system, it is simply a tool in the arsenal and will be especially helpful when a resource is in the database but is not yet properly classified, or not classified according to how you might expect it to be. Cool, so we're learning how resources are organized within EasyBlend. Now what about the actual resources themselves? Let's take a look at these real quickly before heading back to finish discussing those categories we looked at earlier. There are several areas of each resource you can check out. Looking at one of these resources, for example, we can tell that it's a YouTube video, it was authored in German, its intended audience is intermediate users, and it was written using Blender version 2.62. If the resource is a video, when you click on the main thumbnail, a player will pop up allowing you to quickly preview the video. Or you can expand it and watch the video full screen in its entirety if you want. The nice thing is you can quickly preview several videos on one topic without losing your place in the search view. Clicking on the host icon here in the upper right corner opens up a new tab which is linked directly to the page where the resource is hosted, YouTube in this case, where you'll have access to the original comments, links to the author's page on that host, and any other notes or support materials the author may have set up for that resource. The thumbnail image to the left generally represents the resource author or the channel to which the resource was uploaded. So for example, clicking on it in this case will bring up all YouTube videos by this author, Voxel Geek. One thing to keep in mind is that clicking on the author link will reset the other filters to make sure all resources by this author are initially returned. The details area is where we plan to house all other metadata about the resource, such as an extended description of the resource, author details, and resource history details, such as who added the resource or who was the last to classify it. This feature is still in early development, so initially there may not be a whole lot of additional stuff there. However, one of the things we think will be useful is for Blenducators being able to review the history of a resource's classifications when deciding whether or not to accept a new reclassification or leave the existing one in place. There is also a ratings widget where users can rate the resource between 1 to 5 stars. Rating each resource you view will help other users determine the overall quality of a tutorial or other material before they spend time watching it. So that's a quick summary of the stuff you currently have access to with each resource. We will of course constantly be adding to this list and providing additional templates soon which will present slightly different views of the resources depending on your preferences. Okay, so now let's go back and look at EasyBlend's main resource categories and discuss these a bit more. They are supposed to make classifying the resources and finding them later much more intuitive and efficient. One important point is that EasyBlend staff has tried to identify common resource types widely understood by the Blender community and define these categories so that they make the most sense. But they are not set in stone. Many of you will have differing opinions of where things belong, and we intend to listen and evolve the category system as needed, likely modifying definitions and adding new categories from time to time. Anyway, these first 4 categories are very important because they mostly represent tutorials which make up the majority of the Blender-related resources available. And we'll see that these 3, specific tutorials, quick tips, and virtual manual, share the same topic hierarchy. I'll start off with specific tutorials. These are resources whose focus is on teaching a single specific aspect of working with Blender in some way. Obviously, every tutorial will probably mention other topics as well, but a specific tutorial should only cover one key aspect of Blender in depth. This means that the subtopics which are directly related to the tutorial's main topic can be covered in depth, however, involvement of unrelated topics will typically be minimal. So if the specific tutorial is on rigging, for example, then clearly the author should be able to discuss constraints and armatures in depth, but not spend too much time on modeling and texturing. A great example of this exact scenario is this older but excellent tutorial by Jonathan Williamson showing how to rig an excavator arm with pistons. In it, he discusses these same subtopics, including armatures, bones, and constraints, in order to accomplish his primary goal of showing you how to rig this mechanical model, not model it or texture it. A general tutorial, on the other hand, covers multiple topics and usually has a goal of teaching you how to construct a certain scene or accomplish a larger effect by combining smaller specific techniques. Andrew Price is well known for these types of tutorials, in which he is able to take you rapidly through many distinct aspects of Blender to produce a final awesome result. So an example of a general tutorial is his two-part series on how to make an airplane. In his own description, he mentions that he will be covering modeling, texturing, lighting, and rendering within the videos. The next category, and one of my personal favorites, is quick tips. These are great because they're fast, fun, and get right to the point. At EasyBlend, we like to think of these resources as a subset of specific tutorials, which are only as long as necessary, typically 1 to 3 minutes in length, and are focused on a very specific topic, free of non-related fluff. So you'll see that quick tips share the same set of filters with specific tutorials. One word of caution: many authors will label their tutorials as quick tips, and 10 minutes in, they've run off on 5 different tangents from their original topic. These, in our opinion, should be properly classified as general tutorials or specific if their focus is narrow enough. Project demos are typically an artist displaying and/or discussing a project that they have completed or are currently working on. Sometimes these are tutorial-like in that they might point out helpful tips that the author learned in the process of creating their project. But in all cases, it should represent the status of an artist's actual project. Modeling time-lapses with some cool music in the background are usually a good fit for project demos. Another great example of this are the status updates we receive on the Gooseberry and Caminandes projects. Effects demos are generally very short rendered demos of cool effects that users have achieved with Blender. They can include other software for post-processing, but should involve Blender for the bulk of the 3D effect generation and rendering. Good examples of these are animations using physics effects like rendered fluid simulations and smoke and fire demos. Demo reels are another category most of us are familiar with. They typically involve multiple examples of an artist's work compiled in a short video to showcase the artist's skills and specialties. Demo reels can represent the work of a single artist or the collective work of a group, such as a VFX company or an advertising firm. Great examples of these are the Blender Foundation's own cycles rendering engine demo reels, which are phenomenal. Blender movies are finished, rendered, and post-produced movies and animations. They should not include mini tutorials or discussions within the movie. This would be more of a fit for a project demo. Of course, the best examples of these are the Blender Foundation's own featured movies, such as Big Buck Bunny, Sintel, and Tears of Steel. These are fun and a great inspiration for those wanting to learn what Blender is capable of. Conferences and meetings include Blender User Group meetings, World Meetup Blender Days, Blender Foundation discussions, and the like. Developers are undoubtedly the most important group of people associated with the future of Blender. By including it as a main category at EasyBlend, we're hoping to showcase current development and inspire Blender developers to share their thoughts and processes with other Blender users. One of the best examples of these are the wonderful videos that Thomas Beck of Plasma Solutions produces called Developer Sneak Peeks. This series is ultra informative, and although it doesn't cover much technical detail into the development process itself, does thoroughly discuss new Blender features as they're being developed from a developer point of view. Finally, let's get back to that category I skipped over. The Blender Foundation, along with many dedicated volunteers, has put together a fantastic piece of documentation called the Blender Manual. It is well organized, is translated in many languages, and has excellent excerpts of hundreds of features and workflows detailed. But many times when we have a question we want an answer to quickly, we would rather somebody grab our hand and walk us through a narrated example, past the common pitfalls, straight to the Blender knowledge we seek. So the last but not least category we'll discuss is EasyBlend's take on the Blender Manual itself. At EasyBlend we call it the Virtual Manual. The Virtual Manual is in a sense an extension to the Blender Manual. Like many Blender features, it's best described by showing a demo rather than trying to explain it. When you enter the Virtual Manual view, a special version of the Blender Manual pops up. I say special, it's actually a current copy of the real Blender manual with a custom interface that lets EasyBlend display resource links next to the topic headers. These links do the same thing as the topic navigation links in EasyBlend's other categories. They bring up resources related directly to the Blender manual topic which you just clicked. So you have access to the normal content of the manual, plus, where available, links to videos and other resources which may help answer your questions more rapidly. This adds an additional way to search for Blender resources, in effect by extending the Blender manual functionality, and may be more intuitive for some users. Currently, the resource links in the virtual manual are related to the topics in the specific tutorial's hierarchy. However, this may change. We may end up creating another topic hierarchy just for manual topics depending on user feedback. For the short term, only EasyBlend staff can add links and assign topics. However, we should have this functionality available to Blenducators soon. So now you have a taste of what EasyBlend has to offer. Let's run through a quick review of our goals for the site. We want to index quality Blender-related resources from several media hosts in one place using a common format. Organize them according to a community-driven Blender taxonomy. Give all users the ability to easily add and classify resources. Add functionality to the existing Blender manual. Give incentive to Blenducators to keep creating quality educational materials by promoting them in the work they produce. And in the end, help promote Blender as one of the world's leading 3D tool sets. A couple of last notes. We will be accepting Blenducator account requests, but initially only giving out a small number of access tokens. Please don't be discouraged if you submit a Blenducator application and are not immediately sent out a confirmation token. Once we can confirm the stability of our platform, more Blenducator accounts will be authorized. Finally, I'm quick to point out that as EasyBlend is in its infancy and under heavy development, there are likely to be some rapidly changing features, bugs, and growing pains as we evolve the application and the website. We're asking anyone who's willing to participate, test out features, and provide feedback to help make development more efficient and the site more productive to Blender users everywhere. So feel free to explore the site, create an account if you wish to contribute, and please give us feedback, positive or negative, all is welcome. We will use your experiences to make the system better. Constructive criticism is most appreciated. We have 3 sections set up: general feedback, features requests, and bugs where you can leave your comments for the team. In the next few days, a second video will be released specifically covering the workflow for users submitting new resources and Blenducators reviewing and accepting those resources. Look for it at Blender Nation or on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you at EasyBlend.org.